What it is, and Happy New Year. This episode is sponsored by Underdog. The app is an easy way to make some cash just by making picks on your favorite players. Underdog is available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and New York, just to name a few. Make sure to support the show by hitting the link in the bio and downloading the Underdog app. Use code MACECAM or SAT to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit and a free pick. I'm Treasure Wilson, aka Stat Baby, along with your hosts, Mace and Cam.
Murder! How you doing, man? Yo, this nigga play too much, man. Oh, shit. What's happening? Oh, man, this is crazy, man. All right. How was your vacation, man? How was your vacation?
Mine was great. I saw snow for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah,
what's up.
I made a snowman. How was yours?
What you? Oh, man. Okay. Yo, this nigga.
It's what they want.
Well, Mace, I'm glad you're enjoying your popcorn. We got a lot of things to talk about. A lot of people had a lot of things to say. Could start football, or we could start there. Where do y'all want to start?
Yeah, listen, man. Listen, I'm gonna address a couple of things because we've been on vacation and a lot of niggas been talking since I was on vacation. We're gonna start with Jomo. We'll start with Jomo. And you are a guardian angel and designer, nigga. What the fuck is you talking about, my nigga? You are from the Bronx, bro. You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, my nigga. I did not grow up with you. Contrary to what you believe, I did not grow up with you. You are from the Bronx. Did your grandmother live? Did your grandmother live in Harlem? Yes. Did you come see her? Yes. Did I see you time to time? Yes. I did not grow up with you. You talk about dick ride now. That's where this old shit, I would have left you alone. I would have left the old shit alone. But listen, dick ride, do you remember how we met, nigga? Pause. Not met, how you got cool with us? This is how this started. I want y'all to go Google Cameron 1995 freestyle.
Was pretending to penance with a 44 Johnny honey, and now I make Gotti money. Niggas wanna be cool, but couldn't piss in my potty bunny. And I stuff my dick in the door, the fucking in order, fucking the store, the running cops, fucking reports, sweating niggas like buckets of water. I got detected, word wrong. It's like looking for a squad. It's like card tonight, the guy so I started.
Through, don't make it a habit, G, or I'ma extinguish two in your cavities. Cause where I'm from is like a ghost town. We packing toast clown, fuck around. The bitch ass to get a blown crown. Doggy, you think the way you stay is raw as bloodshed. I make your block hotter than that state that Barkley played for.
Yeah, now go Google Mace, Cameron Cardan, DJ Clue.
Niggas don't understand, son. The bullets in they cap and they can't run. Niggas all on top of you, beat you down with handguns, plus back plugs, but you never get the land one. Run with grimy niggas and die over shit your man done. You dream the world I'm living in. Wanna fuck the bitches I be swimming in. Cute, but don't confuse me as I'm feminine. Wilder than them cats that be rowdy to the Benjamin.
Google Children of the Corn 12-minute freestyle.
Nigga like the blast mags, put niggas in trash bags, so dash fags will get your ass tagged. Hey yo, the gruff been rough for years. I be bucking queers and throw the ass down the fucking stairs. Step to this and you a doom victim. Hey yo, I'm iller than that shit that fuck up your immune system.
Google Bloodshed and Cameron, Children of the Corn freestyle.
Laughed up, I dare to ask to act up. You hear me? Yeah, I'd rather off that you live me. I'd rather have you fear me than have your mother cherry eyes, flowers, candles, 40 bottles, cherry eyes. No, we lie.
What the young kid had to show us.
Yeah, see, I run with this the kids. You'll have a twisted wig playing R. Kelly when you know my ass Mr. Big.
Are you at any of these places? No, nigga. You was not there, man. You wasn't there, nigga. This is what happened, how Jomo got cool with us. Them freestyles that we just showed y'all, go Google them, have fun with them when you get time. We were popping. It wasn't no internet. Mace, myself, Big L, even though Mace and Big L on the same page, Bloodshed, my man Herb McGruff, we were super duper popping in the street prior to the internet. Everybody knew we was about to get a record deal. Everybody knew this, nigga. It wasn't no secret. Basically, you heard our freestyles and you came up to me one day when I was chilling in front of the house, you said, and this word to my dead mother, yo, man, I heard the freestyles, y'all killing shit. Yo, you know my grandmother died. If y'all wanna come by and just hang out, y'all could, y'all more than welcome. We like, all right, Jomo, thanks. It didn't really make sense at the time because we like, yo, my nigga, where's Jomo inviting us to his house for? Even though he cool nigga. But it didn't make sense to be going to Jomo house. More freestyles come out. Yo, I heard the new shit you did. I heard the new shit you did. Yo, you wanna come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house? Cool. One day, I'm leaving Mace's house on the west side, going back to the east side. I stop at Jomo's house. His grandmother died, God bless her dad. And he had a free crib. So yeah, I would bring some bitches over there to fuck sometime. A little crack maybe. I'd be at everybody's house though. I love my grandparents. My grandparents were strict. I stayed at Duke the God house. I stayed at Mace with Cuda. I stayed at her. I stayed a bunch of. I never needed nowhere to stay. You act like niggas on your couch. You was a fan, nigga. You begged us. You are a fan, nigga. A fan. We didn't grow up with you. I am from 140th and Lenox. I am from NFL. Up the block was 40 Wolves. Lou Simpsons, I'm on 142nd Cross Square. D. Ferg on number 8th Avenue. I don't see you around none of this. Shout out to my nigga, what's the nigga Final Four Billy and them? You not from none of that. So you can sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem shit and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you gotta keep saying, I'm from Harlem? Niggas from Harlem know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem. So that's first and foremost. All this, yo, niggas was on your couch. You were fanned out and you begged niggas to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in, nigga. You was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mace like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. Literally. He taught you how to rap. You'll say it. Matter of fact, bring up the clip.
Mace helped me actually learn how to rap.
Mace showed me how to rap. Mace actually showed me, he was the first person to show me how to rap.
Mace actually sat me down and showed me the magic to rap.
We taught you how to rap, nigga. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. Nigga, you ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. I put you down because you had a free crib and you was a nice guy. That's how you got down originally. Period. Now, to the next point. This all started because I asked 50 Cent a question. Cool. I thought it was cool to ask 50. The shit happened 20 years ago, however many years ago. I thought it was all good. I had no problem thinking, yo, okay. He tricked niggas out their spot, came to the spot. I know 50 said it. And they went on the, he was funny. I thought it was funny when he said the shit. But I didn't think it'd be a big deal because you make up with every nigga that put hands on you. But I see the pattern now. If a nigga agree to disagree with you and don't want to take it that route because they got some genuine love for you, you keep going on and on and on. Every nigga that put hands on you or you get to altercation, you cool with them. I see you with C Gutter. Junior Mafia, cool. I see you taking pictures with True Life. It's cool. Man, DC, y'all having sit-downs to work out. Gunshots was let off with that. Y'all having sit-downs to work it out. You tried to chase French Montana out the game. That ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot. Pardon me, not his video shoot, his movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere, and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissing. You gotta eat it, just sitting in the crowd. Nah, nigga, they dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro. You ever wonder how you met Mano? Ask him how you met Mayo. Mayo gonna downplay because they cool now. He tried to press Mano one day because Mano first came out. He had a little record where he was saying, dissing the rappers. I don't know, he's dissing, he said nigga's name. So Jim Plus see Mano one day and was like, yo, what's up with all that saying my name? Man said, who the fuck you talking to? Oh, you think I'm one of them niggas? You out your motherfucking mind? Now they the lobby boys. Every nigga that do something to put pressure on you, you sit there and work it out. But when niggas got a little genuine heart for you and all that, cool, that's the pattern. If they don't put hands on you, then you can keep going on and on and on. And I ain't promoting none of this. I think it's cool that you cool with everybody I name. You gonna be 50 next year, nigga. I'm happy that you cool. I'm not saying this to stir up no feathers. I'm not saying that to backtrack on any beef or go anything like, I think it's really cool. But the niggas who do this, you cool with, and then the niggas who try to handle it sophisticatedly, you keep going on like niggas give a fuck about all that shit, bro. Niggas don't care about none of that shit, my nigga. Niggas don't care a little bit, my nigga. That's first and foremost. I'm gonna wrap it up with a couple things real quick. What I'll finish with is this, man. I'm never here to downplay your character. As much as you try to degrade my character for years and push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that, and you started Pink and you made the Diplomats, which is just, if people choose to believe that, then look, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I could sell you to, my nigga, period. But at the end of the day, my nigga, I'm never trying to downplay your character. And I didn't know all this shit was going on because I was on vacation. I came back a few days ago and seen all this going on. And it's like, for instance, right? I see you post the shit, Cam let me get jumped in Rucker, this, that, and third by 8 niggas, this, that, and third. I'll let niggas tell that story however they want to tell it. I don't give a fuck. I seen the story one time when Little C's was telling the story. I mean, me and Little C's is cool. And Little C's told me he punched me in my face. Really? And me and C, I seen C's. C's, really? No, not dissing C's, but no. Little C's never punched me. But if you go to his end in that story, that's what he said he did. And like I said, I ain't got no problem. I seen C's, we good. But you keep running around with these 25-year-old stories. Do you ever hear me talk about when you ran on me when BMF pulled up? When you ran in the hotel, they chased you to the beach. And lucky, I had my shit on me and my man JoJo, I ain't gonna say his name, Spanish nigga, you know him. The Spanish nigga who don't care about life, who was with me, is like, who all these niggas coming? I said, oh, they come this way. And this no disrespect, because Blue's my nigga, Meech my nigga, all that. And Blue Da Vinci just told this story on his platform or whatever platform recently. He got it 89% right. It's a little off, Blue. I'll tell it on Talk with Flea, my perspective of what happened. But at the end of the day, I don't be out there pumping. They chased you to the beach, nigga. You was in the sand. You was getting wet from the water, from the ocean. I don't pump that. Took your rags off. Me and JoJo was laughing about that 3 months, some cool shit. Cool. I don't pump all that shit, nigga, because I ain't trying to make the great your character. You know why? Because the revolution was televised, nigga. That's why I'm here, nigga. That's why I gotta work like that. That's why me and Murder is here, nigga. The revolution was televised, nigga. Fuck is you talking about? And I'll wrap it up real quick with this, nigga, because I'll be here for an hour. We got other shit to do. Stop tricking niggas out their freedom, bro. Because niggas get around you to put themselves in better situations, bro. Not to be in worse situations than they was before they met you. You get, do you understand that? I don't know if you understand that. That's why niggas come around, but then you send them on dummy missions and trick them out their freedom. Max is doing 75. I know you don't give a fuck. Jaja just wanted to be a rapper. Jaja got 10 years, my nigga. We don't know where Jeter at. Stro is just missing. I don't know what the fuck happened to Stro. Slicey, 12 years. His godson, that was 13 years old, 8 years. Shotty, he was trying to be 12 years. And I know you love Mel, because I love Mel Matrix. That's my brother. I love him. That's your man more than my man, and that's a fact. I'm not denying it. But you said when he come home, he gonna be the triple OG. Get that man a job, my nigga. Get him a job. He was the triple OG before he went in. Make sure he getting a job, getting 6 digits a year. That's what it's really about. As much as that side, I don't know if they fuck with me or not. I ain't talking about this situation. You know what's gangster? Emery is gangster. Emery that had a Puma, creative, whatever the fuck he doing. It ain't even like jail back on his plate no time soon, and they ain't never going back. You know what's gangster? Biggs is gangster. Biggs come home for jail, still got a stake in Rockefeller, whatever him and Jay-Z worked out, that's cool. Or whatever, he got St. John as artist, he working with Drink Champs. That's gangster. Not throwing niggas back in the pot that eventually do something that could get them back in the same situation. And I'm not saying, man, if you got something lined up for Matrix, I'm shut the fuck up. My bad, I apologize, but I don't want that for Melly because I give a fuck about Melly. Whether he care about me like he used to or not, I still my nigga. I got love for Melly. So hopefully that'll go right. But this is gonna be the last time I address this. I did this 10 years ago. A lot of people seem like this is new business. When Jim wanted to go to Rock Nation, he sat there and was crying on Funk Master Flex, saying I did this, did that. We did this whole thing 10 years ago, bro. I'm not doing this every 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Whatever you got to say after this, good luck, I wish you luck. I got other shit to do. A lot of people don't even realize the Dipset movement was from 2001 to 2006, 7. It's 2025. What are we talking about here? If it's people interested in the stories, I dig it. I understand that. Me, from 2007 to 2025, I got other shit to do. This is not on my motherfucking plate. So I wish you all the best. I don't care what niggas say after this. I'm not addressing it no more. Believe what you want to believe because I got other things to do. You feel me, Murder? I ain't want to snap on them no shit, but yeah, I'm good.
Can you pass me that?
Here goes some popcorn, Stack.
Thanks. Definitely need it. Oh.
What just happened between Cameron and Jim Jones feels like much more than a random emotional blow-up. It sounds more like the pressure finally bursting after years of unresolved tension beneath one of hip-hop's most heavily scrutinized partnerships. To understand why Cam came back from vacation and almost immediately used his platform to challenge an entire version of the story, you have to examine what that story was, why Cam felt the need to correct it, and why the timing of his response could be just as important as the statements themselves. According to Cam's explanation, everything traces back to a question he answered years after an incident involving 50 Cent. That story has remained part of hip-hop discussions for years, with reports alleging that 50 Cent and people associated with him confronted Jim Jones and took his jewelry. When Cam was recently asked about it, he appeared to treat the incident like something from a completely different era, an old chapter that shouldn't automatically define how people view one another today. He seemed to believe that giving an honest answer, especially while joking about the situation, would be taken in that same context. Instead, his response appears to have dragged old tension back into the spotlight, and suddenly the discussion became much bigger, involving arguments about who actually built the diplomats, where certain members truly came from, and who taught them the foundations of rap. That last point is where Cam's frustration becomes impossible to miss, and there is a clear reason it seems to hit such a nerve for him. In Harlem's culture, where you come from matters. A person's neighborhood can become tied directly to their credibility, identity, and reputation in a way that cannot simply be adopted later. Cam's argument is very specific. He says Jim Jones is originally from the Bronx rather than Harlem, and while Jim's grandmother lived in Harlem and he spent time there visiting her, being around a neighborhood as a child is not automatically the same as being raised there, absorbing its culture, learning its unwritten rules, and earning a reputation in those streets alongside people like Cameron, Mace, and their wider circle. Cam is not saying Jim had no Harlem connection at all. What he is questioning is whether those connections should automatically translate into a complete Harlem identity, especially when that version is repeated as if it has always been an unquestioned part of the group's original story. But before deciding who is right, you also have to look at the setting where Cam made these comments, because that detail changes the way the entire moment comes across. This wasn't a polished diss track recorded in a studio specifically designed to create controversy, and it wasn't some carefully written statement prepared by a publicist. It happened during an unscripted podcast conversation where sports, culture, and whatever was currently on the hosts' minds could become the topic at any moment. Cam and his co-hosts had just returned from a holiday break, were catching up on weeks of online conversations, and this particular subject did not appear to be something they had carefully mapped out beforehand. That lack of preparation matters. When someone suddenly starts giving highly specific details, including names, places, timelines, and other information without appearing to check notes, it can suggest those memories were already firmly stored in their mind. It makes the story feel less like something created for that moment and more like information that had been sitting underneath the surface until something finally triggered it. This is exactly why Cam's references to old freestyle recordings become so interesting, because they seem to serve a much bigger purpose than simply showing that he remembers what happened. Cam encourages listeners to look up earlier freestyle footage, specifically mentioning a 1995 freestyle and later material associated with names like DJ Clue and the Children of the Corn Collective. His reason for pointing people toward the footage instead of simply asking them to trust his memory is actually pretty strategic. Cam knows that when people debate hip-hop history, especially in an era where stories can be stretched, altered, or conveniently rewritten, original evidence can speak much louder than someone's present-day recollection. By sending the audience toward recordings that existed long before this latest dispute, Cam is trying to make sure he isn't the only person carrying the burden of proof, and instead allowing the old footage to tell part of the story. Suddenly, the questions become much tougher to brush aside. Who was already recording? Who was already making music? Who already had recognition? And who had built a reputation before Jim Jones entered the picture? In Cam's telling, the relationship began after Jim Jones heard those freestyles and eventually connected with them following the death of his grandmother, who had left behind an empty apartment. Cam says that apartment became a place where the group could gather, hang out, and eventually create music together. On the surface, that detail might sound insignificant, but it could actually be one of the most important pieces of the entire disagreement because it changes how people might understand the diplomat's origin story. Instead of portraying 5 equally established figures arriving together and building everything from nothing, Cam describes an already active group of artists searching for a place to gather, finding that opportunity through Jim Jones, and eventually bringing him closer because he offered access and, according to Cam's memory, seemed like a genuinely good person. And that implication is pretty serious. Cam's version suggests Jim's earliest role within the group may have been tied more to relationships, access, and providing a place to gather than to having an established reputation as a rapper or artist. From there, Cam takes the argument even further, claiming that members of the group actually taught Jim Jones how to rap, and specifically remembering that he personally sat down with Jim to explain the fundamentals of the craft. That might be the sharpest challenge Cam makes to Jim Jones's public version of the group's history during the entire conversation. For decades, Jim Jones has portrayed himself as an important contributor to the Diplomat's sound, identity, culture, and business direction, and at different points, the story has placed him among the central figures who helped shape what the group eventually became. Cam isn't simply presenting another interpretation of those events. He's presenting almost the exact opposite, arguing that Jim entered the circle admiring what they had already created, received guidance from people whose skills were already developed, and later became part of an origin story that, in Cam's view, made his role appear more equal or possibly even more important than it really was. When Cam argues that the group essentially made Jim Jones and that Jim did not independently create what eventually became the Diplomats, he's drawing a very sharp line between being invited into something and being responsible for building it. And he seems convinced that those two ideas have been blurred for years in a way that ultimately worked in Jim Jones's favor. But here's where the story gets even more interesting, because the true emotional core of Cam's argument may have very little to do with rap lessons, old freestyle footage, or even the apartment where those early sessions supposedly happened. The bigger issue appears to be a pattern Cam says he has watched play out repeatedly over the years, and now he seems ready to confront it publicly. The core of Cam's argument is that Jim Jones has repeatedly managed to rebuild relationships with people who allegedly attacked him, embarrassed him, or even got physical with him, while seemingly maintaining far longer grudges against people whose biggest offense was criticizing him, disagreeing with him, or simply choosing to walk away. Cam brings up several examples to support that point, mentioning names and situations that longtime followers of New York hip-hop conflicts will probably recognize, including physical altercations, incidents involving gunfire, and public disputes that somehow eventually turned into friendships or even new collaborations. But what makes this part of the conversation more compelling than ordinary hip-hop gossip is the behavioral pattern Cam believes he has identified. His argument seems to be that Jim's forgiveness is selective, and that the seriousness of the original offense may not actually be the thing determining whether someone gets welcomed back, with power, submission, or who ultimately appeared to control the situation possibly playing a bigger role. In Cam's eyes, somebody can physically confront Jim Jones, overpower him, or put him through a serious conflict, and somehow that person can later return to his good side through a very public reconciliation. Cam views that as a strange version of maturity because people who once had serious physical problems with Jim can eventually be welcomed back, while someone who simply challenges his narrative, distances themselves, or disagrees with him verbally can apparently remain on the wrong side for years. He sees that contradiction as more than simple hypocrisy, arguing that it could reveal what Jim actually respects, what makes him feel challenged, and how he determines which conflicts are worthy of forgiveness. Cam even brings up another artist who was reportedly confronted by Jim over lyrics, yet somehow the two eventually became cool again. And the pattern Cam is describing is difficult to overlook. There is a confrontation, emotions reach a boiling point, and then somehow a relationship or alliance returns, repeating itself over a span of more than 20 years. Yet Cam himself, despite never physically attacking Jim and seemingly trying to stay away from this kind of public confrontation, suddenly ends up cast as the villain in a situation he says he didn't even realize was developing until he came back from vacation. Then Cam brings up an even stranger example, remembering a time when he was disrespected inside a movie theater while attending a premiere to support someone, only to realize that the actual film contained material mocking him or portraying him negatively while he was sitting there watching it. From Cam's perspective, that was almost unbelievable, because most people would see that kind of public humiliation as enough reason to react seriously, yet he says he took it, moved forward, and refused to turn the moment into another feud lasting 10 years. And that comparison makes his larger point hit even harder. Cam says he has personally dealt with years of disrespect and still chose not to transform every situation into a public campaign, while Jim, according to Cam's perspective, has sometimes allowed much smaller offenses to become long-running problems that continue resurfacing years later. But then the conversation takes a much heavier turn, because Cam moves away from personal beef and starts discussing loyalty, sacrifice, and what he sees as a serious imbalance among the people surrounding their world. He talks about individuals connected to that circle who have suffered major legal consequences, long prison sentences, and life-changing risks, apparently because they remained loyal to a larger movement or organization, while other people connected to that same world continued building careers, finding business opportunities, and appearing publicly without facing anything close to those same consequences. Cam does not identify every person or provide enough information to independently confirm every part of those stories, but the larger question he raises is difficult to ignore. He's essentially asking why certain people end up paying the highest price for street-level loyalty, while others remain positioned to benefit from the culture, relationships, and opportunities that those same connections helped create. There is another theme underneath Cam's message that may actually be even more important: survival. And that is where this discussion starts becoming much bigger than Cam versus Jim Jones. Cam isn't simply throwing out names, prison sentences, and old stories. He's quietly asking what happens to the people who never reach the level of success that he and Jim eventually achieved. For every artist who becomes recognizable, gains media access, builds brand relationships, and develops a platform large enough to explain their side to millions, there are countless others from those same neighborhoods, crews, and early circles who took enormous risks but never received the chance to turn those sacrifices into success. Some are still incarcerated. Others, as Cam points out almost casually, have completely disappeared from the public conversation, leaving even people who once knew them wondering what ultimately happened with their lives. And honestly, that detail may land harder than the louder accusations, because Cam doesn't deliver it with some dramatic speech or angry explosion. He says it almost casually, and somehow that makes the reality feel even more disturbing. At this point, the conversation begins shifting away from revenge and towards something that looks much more like an accounting of who paid the price and who didn't. Cam mentions a friend who is serving a lengthy prison sentence and makes it clear that he still has love and respect for that person, separating those feelings from the current issues between himself and Jim. His real frustration appears to be aimed at a larger system where people can become caught up in dangerous situations because of their proximity to fame, money, and entertainment, only to spend years or even decades living with consequences, while the public side of that same world continues moving forward. Cam also acknowledges that he doesn't know exactly what will happen for that friend after release, and importantly, he avoids turning that uncertainty into a definite accusation, instead expressing hope that the person's future works out, regardless of whatever disagreement exists between himself and Jim. By referencing other recognizable people who have found themselves in similar positions, facing serious danger because of connections to entertainment circles or business circles, while still managing to build profitable ventures away from those situations, Cam expands his criticism into a much larger conversation about how risk and reward are rarely divided equally. At this point, we're no longer just watching another Cameron versus Jim Jones argument. We're looking at a recurring issue within hip-hop culture, where the people closest to the danger aren't always the same people who eventually receive the biggest rewards from being close to success. And when Cam finally brings his argument toward a conclusion, he makes one thing very clear: he wants this chapter to end. He says this will be the last time he addresses the issue, explaining that this isn't the first time he's been pulled back into the same kind of public dispute, even recalling another conflict roughly a decade earlier, where emotional appeals were made through media appearances. The frustration seems to come less from one individual incident and more from the fact that the same history keeps coming back around. Cam feels like every few years he gets dragged into another argument over the same old events, despite believing that he moved forward long ago and built an entirely different life and career beyond the era when these original issues took place. Diplomats were at their peak. By emphasizing that the group's most intense period lasted only a handful of years in the early 2000s, while almost 20 years have passed since that era, Cam is clearly trying to put the entire situation into perspective and make the case that an old chapter should not have the power to define everything that happened afterward. What makes this moment feel bigger than just another heated hip-hop podcast exchange is how Cam delivers his final thoughts, not sounding like someone celebrating a victory or trying to humiliate Jim Jones, but more like somebody who has simply reached the end of his patience and decided to speak honestly. He repeatedly stresses that he doesn't want to revive old beef simply to create another headline. And he even acknowledges that Jim Jones's ability to repair relationships throughout his career is something he can genuinely respect when viewed by itself. His criticism is much narrower and honestly much harder to brush aside. Cam believes there is a recurring pattern where physical confrontations eventually end in forgiveness and public reunions, while emotional distance, disagreement, or verbal criticism can create resentment that lasts for years, especially when the person involved is him. And then, right when the conversation reaches its most intense moment, Cam looks toward his co-host, completely shifts the mood, asks for some popcorn, and simply lets the whole moment breathe. All of a sudden, what initially looked like another celebrity feud starts revealing something much deeper. It gives us an unusually honest look at the emotional foundation of a creative relationship that has lasted for decades, shaped by mentorship, opportunities, shared hardships, loyalty, and now two completely different beliefs about who should receive credit for that history. Whether you believe every detail Cam shared is an undeniable fact, or simply his version of events, the conversation still shows how powerful public narratives can become, how they get challenged, and what happens when someone finally decides that remaining silent has become more difficult than telling their side. For people who have followed New York hip-hop for years, there is an even bigger takeaway. Legendary partnerships can carry private scorecards that fans never get to see, and every once in a while, someone finally opens that book and starts reading the pages out loud. There is also a larger lesson here about how hip-hop history gets argued today, compared with the era that originally created these reputations. In Cam's generation, credibility traveled through freestyles, mixtapes, neighborhood talk, and the people who were physically present when those moments happened. Now, those same stories can be debated within minutes through podcasts, social media reactions, viral clips, and edited videos, often by audiences who weren't even alive or old enough to remember when the original events occurred. That makes Cam's decision to point people toward the old 1995 footage and Children of the Corn era material especially interesting, because it can be seen as an attempt to bring old-school evidence into a modern media environment, where the most dramatic version of a story can travel much faster than the most accurate one. And honestly, that collision between first-hand memory and history performed for an audience, between people who actually experienced an era and people who inherited its stories afterward, may end up being the most important part of this entire controversy once the latest Cam and Jim Jones headlines eventually fade. But there's another question sitting underneath all of this that may be even harder to answer. How much of a celebrity's origin story actually belongs to them, and how much simply became accepted because nobody challenged it for years? Cam's comments interrupt that process by forcing people to reconsider a version of the past that may have become comfortable simply because it was rarely questioned. Whether Jim Jones chooses to come back with a detailed response, ignores the entire situation, or somehow finds another route toward reconciliation, as Cam claims has happened in the past, the conversation has already changed something important. It has reopened a chapter of hip-hop history that many people probably believed was permanently settled, and reminded everyone that even the strongest creative partnerships are built from personal memories, and personal memories rarely match perfectly. And eventually, when two versions of the same history collide hard enough, somebody usually reaches the point where staying quiet no longer feels worth it, and they decide to tell their side out loud.